Welcome back to another episode of the Jessica Ella podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Ella. I am Australia's leading women's trauma therapist and founder of Aruka Therapy. And I always hate saying that bit about leading women's trauma therapists because I don't just work with trauma. And this has been something that's coming up a lot at the moment in the DMs. There's a lot of women saying like, oh, I don't have as much trauma as you, or I don't have, a lot of trauma, but I kind of want to work on, I just got divorced, or I'm going through some issues with friendships or whatever it is. There's these other things that are causing them a lot of, difficulty in their life. And they felt like they can't come for a session because they don't have enough trauma. This is absolutely not the vibe. I talk to all levels of trauma because I think that people with complex trauma or massive amounts of trauma do get missed, and there is information that's not really tailored to them. There's a lot of information out there about healing, but it's really directed at, a wider audience. And so I do try to incorporate information for them as well. But absolutely, these sessions and this podcast and everything is for all levels and for anything that you're wanting to work on. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that is a little bit lighter than some of the other episodes. Well, I'm going to try and make it lighter. If you know me, you know that I just don't really have that switch. A lot of people think I'm very intense, and that's mostly because I am. But what we're going to talk about is magnetism, because I see so many women online teaching manifestation and magnetism. And it's like, learn how to become magnetic, learn how to become your most magnetic self. And when we think about magnetic, straight away, if I think about a woman that's magnetic, I think about a woman that's, radiant and abundant and calm and fun, free. And, I can see all these traits of this woman that's just like magnetizing everything effortlessly into her life and manifesting, at the drop of a hat. And the truth is, we're actually all magnetic. We are all like literal magnets. We're living in, if we break it down, if we break everything down to an atomic level, there is just inside every atom is just nothing, vibrations. Everything in the entire universe is made up of energy. Quantum physics has now proven that. There's no question about it. Everything is energy. Einstein, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. I believe that was him. It's been proven for a very long time that the energy that makes us up is no different to the energy, surrounding us. The only difference is frequency. Frequency is what makes up each object. We perceive things to be physical or solid, but you break them down and really they're just energy vibrating at different frequencies. And so we are all magnetic, but where magnetizing is very different. The woman who shows up as radiant and powerful and, strong and confident and all these things that we're wanting to become a magnet to, she has within her the frequencies to magnetize that. So if we think about, I speak about this quite often on the podcast, but if we think about those first sort of 10 years of our life, that is the time where we are creating our subconscious beliefs about how the world works and who we have to be in it. This is how the world works. This is who I am. This is what other people are like. This is how I have to show up. This is how I need to survive. The problem is that we're raised in these like little homes and little communities where that's actually who we have to be in order to survive that situation. But once we expand out of that, there's this whole other world out here where we can be whoever we want to be. What's happening is that the woman that is effortlessly magnetic, and we've all seen her online, she just manifests things and her life has been easy and everything comes to her. What frequencies she is carrying is made up of the subconscious beliefs that she has about herself. If a woman has subconscious beliefs, or a man, a person has subconscious beliefs of, I'm worthy. I deserve what I want in life. I am loved. I'm loved by my family. I'm loved by my friends. I've got support. I've got people around me. It's safe for me to ask for help. It's safe for me to be seen and to show up, because when I was like 8 and I was in dance class, everyone was cheering me on. If you've had these beautiful experiences and you've got these subconscious beliefs that are positive in frequency, if we think about it like worthiness and love and acceptance and support are all positive, higher vibrational frequencies, if we have a collection of those in our subconscious, that's the frequency that we are perceiving the world through. We know about the law of attraction. It's like the most spoken about thing in manifesting, but there is this magnetism. There is this like attracts like. And in the same way that a magnet, is pulling towards it, the other magnet, we're magnetizing similar experiences, people, situations, and perceptions of situations every single day, all day. And people say, oh, I don't know if I want to do the deeper work, and like, I'm afraid things will change. And everything that they want is on the other side of it. Literally everything that they're trying to magnetize is on the other side of their subconscious beliefs, their unprocessed memories, and the emotions that they're storing that they haven't actually shifted and moved out of their physical body or out of their cellular energetic body. It's all just recirculating. The emotions recirculate. They just, because we're not getting rid of them, they have to be stored somewhere. So we're storing them in our tissues and then we're calling it disease, but it's recirculating. And we've got these emotions that are recirculating. We've got these thoughts that are constantly looping, and the thoughts that are constantly looping every day are coming from the subconscious beliefs that we created in those first 10 years of life. And those subconscious beliefs are coming from moments that are open, moments that haven't been processed. And so we're all magnetic, but what we're magnetizing is really, it's not necessarily always what we're focusing on, because we're taught that, if we just visualize our dream life and we just, elevate our emotional state. There's this idea at the moment that if we just elevate our emotional state and we hold the picture in our mind of like the life that we want, that our mind is going to mentally rehearse it and eventually that reality will become true. And yes, this is true, but only to a degree, because if the reality that you're envisioning and the reality that you're wanting to magnetize is just so different from anything you've ever experienced, there's just going to be so many blocks that stop you on the way through that journey or on the way to the thing that you want. Because what you're currently magnetizing and what you're currently pulling into you is more of the same frequency that you're vibrating at. And to me, it's like the more that we don't process our past, the stronger our magnet gets. Because every time one of those old wounds are opened, anytime one of those you're reminded that it's there, and you have new limiting, experiences where you're like, if you have this belief of like, I'm not worthy because my parents didn't give me, enough time or attention, I wasn't worthy of that time and attention. Every time that somebody doesn't give you their time or attention, it reminds you of that same feeling, and that feeling builds and it builds until your whole body is just vibrating at this frequency of unworthiness with every single thought that comes through your mind every day. And people say, how can like your thoughts affect your body? But like your thoughts are often coming from your body. The body is telling the mind, but the mind is also telling the body what's going on. And if you're waking up and you're feeling stressed and you start to feel the physiological signs of stress, all of a sudden your body's saying to your mind something's wrong, and your mind goes, okay, what could it be? Let's go through our blueprint of, how life works. Oh, it's probably this thing over here. And we've got millions of bits of information coming at us every single second, and the subconscious is what's going to interpret. It's going to choose what's important. It's filtering through the subconscious because we can't possibly be aware of every single bit of information that's happening every second of every day. The subconscious's job is to filter what's important. So it comes in through this filter, and this filter's like, it's probably because you don't deserve to do, this life or this job or this partner. It's probably because you don't deserve that, because you're not worthy. It's just going to keep playing those old thoughts and those old programs from those beliefs constantly in circles until you actually process it. So you technically are already magnetic, but what are you magnetizing and what are you experiencing every day? It's going to give you a pretty big idea around what it is that you're magnetizing. And it's a really hard shift, especially for people with trauma, with a lot of trauma, who have lived a long period of time in a victim mentality, in a state of apathy, in a state of grief, in a state of life happens to me and I have no control over it. This really comes from a childhood of having no control, a childhood where you couldn't control who your family was or what was happening to you. You just had to survive it. But that mentality carries through into this adult who still believes that they have no control over their reality and they just have to survive it. And you can see it in every way that they move, in the way that they sit, in the way that they speak, in the way that they interpret every situation that's happening in their life. It's all just that same version of themselves, that same experience. And it can be so hard to address this because there's a part of us that is so deeply ingrained in it that we can't even see that that's what we're doing. It's one of the hardest mentalities to break out of. But once you start to realize that, if you really flip it and you think, well, where I am right now is the result of every past thought and decision that I've made, and where I am right now has been me magnetizing the life that I believed that I deserve, and the life that I believed that I wanted at some point in time, or just purely what I thought was possible for me. This is what was possible for me, this little box here. And that if you've had a lot of trauma, the box is like this small of what you think is possible for you. And if you haven't, and this is where if someone's teaching you magnetism, and there's a few people in the industry that straight away come to mind that I know have had really beautiful childhoods, right? And they're teaching you magnetism from a box that started like this, of just like love and support and just that you're in here. Of course, you're not going to be able to magnetize the things that they're calling in because your version of what's possible for you is so much smaller. So we actually have to realize at some point that we're not the victim, and that yes, we were the victim then, but we're not now. And now we do have a choice in what we magnetize. And the choice is going back and processing everything from the past so that we can file it back there. I think one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Bessel van der Kolk was, the problem with dissociation is that we're fragmented. And his quote was that we need to teach the brain that was then and this is now. And the brain doesn't know that was then and this is now when we're traumatized or when our trauma is reactivated. And so like literally the part of your brain that keeps time goes offline when you're very triggered from a past memory. So it feels like you're back there. And so people say like, your past has nothing to do with manifesting. Your past has fucking everything to do with manifesting, because the reason why you don't feel magnetic, you are magnetic, you're just magnetizing the wrong thing. But the reason why you don't feel like positively magnetic is because you don't have positive experiences and positive beliefs about yourself and positive past references to draw on. And you have, in fact, the opposite. If we're trying to visualize this future where we're abundant and all we've ever known is lack, and we were grown up with parents that struggled, and we didn't have any format for what abundance looks like, and we had all of these different experiences throughout life where we were broke and where we didn't have money, and we constantly went through this lack mindset. I mean, some people break this cycle through sheer force, but again, they're not necessarily happy when they get the abundance. That's the whole other subject. But what happens is this past of lack, it just leaches through and it becomes magnetic in that we unconsciously spend our money in places that we don't even realize we're spending it, because even if we have the money, we're so used to this mindset of lack that we can't even see that it's there. I literally had a conversation with a friend the other day who has grown up in a childhood where she didn't have much money. She's been in relationships where they really struggled. And then she was a single mum and she really struggled financially. And she's in a relationship now. They've combined forces. She's like paid off her house, and they've gotten into a really good financial situation. And she was struggling, and I was talking to her, and I very quickly identified that she was actually still living. I said to her, you're not that version of you anymore. You're trying to live life as if you're still back there. And actually the current struggles that you're having could be completely alleviated because you're in a completely different situation. And this is where we can find ourselves in a new situation, but we can't actually hold it or handle it or feel it or experience it. Like, she wasn't actually able to feel the abundance that she had in her life and the possibilities that were now there for her and ways that she could make her life easier. She had a newborn and she was like stressed about the washing and the cleaning. I'm like, you literally have so much money right now. You can pay for support to help you with those things. But an old version of her just didn't even see that was an option because she was so used to living in lack. This is where this magnetism comes into play. Like, we're continually magnetizing the same feelings and emotions and thoughts and trying to like recreate these old experiences because they feel familiar when actually we're not there anymore. Some of us are still there because we haven't actually moved out of it, and some of us move out of it, but we don't even realize that we have. And so I want you to think about where you're at in life right now. And if you are a magnet, which you are, if I haven't convinced you of that already, you're a part of the field, you're magnetizing the same frequencies towards you. What frequencies have you been magnetizing? What do you see all around you? Is it anger? Do you feel like everyone's angry everywhere you look? Do you feel like everyone's hateful? Do you feel like everyone's sad? Everyone's really depressed? Do you feel like, are you constantly watching movies that are all about drama and your life is all about drama and stress? And what are you noticing around you? What's the themes? What's the patterns? Because the themes and patterns that you see in the world are different to the themes and patterns that I see, because the way that I perceive the world is different because of our makeup. And so start to evaluate what's the patterns. And if you were a magnet and you actually have magnetized everything that you're experiencing right now, like, why did you magnetize that? What are you trying to prove to be true? And where does that pattern come from? If you're currently like, okay, I am feeling like I've got, like I'm lost and I've got no money and I'm not financially abundant and I'm feeling trapped and I'm feeling da-da-da. Okay, I want you to flip it. I magnetized all of that. Why did I magnetize that? Where did that come from? And actually starting to take accountability, which is honestly, as I said before, one of the hardest things, especially if you've been stuck in a victim mindset for a long time. The hardest thing is to break through and to go, okay, I've actually got something to do with this pattern. I've actually got something to do with the magnetism here. Yes, it's from what happened to me, but actually now I'm continuing to repeat the cycle. And it's honestly like it's one of the hardest things to identify in people that have had a lot of trauma, because no one likes being confronted in that way. And it's honestly why a lot of people avoid doing the work. Because if you've spent a lot of your life blaming yourself, realizing that, where you're at now is probably the result of a continuation of a cycle, feels a lot like self-blame. But the truth is, you can't blame somebody else or yourself and be empowered simultaneously. It has to be one or the other. You either let go of the blame and let go of like everything meaning something, and well, they did this and they did that and I'm stupid and I'm worthless. We have to let that go if we want to become empowered. And empowerment looks like, is there something else that could be true here? And where does this come from? And not actually believing every fucking thought that you have. Every thought that you have is coming from a belief that's coming from the past. Like, we need to be able to catch our thoughts, catch our judgments, catch, the emotional responses that we're having to things, and realize that they're coming from somewhere. And we need to be able to trace them back. And we need to be able to understand where they're coming from in order to shift them and move them so that we can become magnetic to something new. And you would be surprised at how quick this transition happens. People come in to sessions, and especially people who don't have a lot of trauma, caveat there, there's a lot of people with complex trauma that listen and then they're like, oh, I can do one session and I'll be fixed. Basically, the way that I explain that is that, the more experiences of trauma that you have, how more frequent the trauma was throughout your childhood or your developmental years, the more frequent that was, the longer it's probably going to take to heal. That's just really the law of cause and effect. But people that have had a small handful of experiences where they felt rejected, say for instance, they come in and they work on processing these memories and they shift the subconscious beliefs of like, I'm rejected and people reject me and I'm always being rejected, and, everything around rejection, because the rejection also comes down to, if I'm rejected, I won't be loved and I'll end up alone. So there's always a bit of that going on down there. But we shift that, and then all of a sudden we have this experience where within 48 hours, these people, and this is why Aruka therapy is getting, raving reviews and why people are talking about it, because within 48 hours, we're getting messages like, I saw my friends today and I finally felt like they all accepted me. I didn't feel like I was the one on the outside anymore. I actually felt included, and they're actually able to see what was always there. And this is the thing, like, you don't need to become like, we think about magnetic as like we're trying to attract something that's outside of us and like pull it towards us. And yes, that is like a good definition of like what's happening. but it's also about we're raising our frequency and our vibration so that we're in alignment with seeing, feeling, experiencing the thing that we want to call in. And if it's acceptance, there was always like, there's this perfect example of this woman that I worked with who she had the same thing. She had the rejection thing, and she had like, no one likes me and no one wants to be my friend. She was like, I don't have any friends. No one wants to be friends with me. I try and make friends. I just can't make friends. That's a belief. I just can't make friends. And straight away I was like, okay, where did this start? She was bullied in school. Okay, we go back. We process the memories where these little bitches in primary school said to her, we don't want to be friends with you anymore. We don't like you. You can't play with us. You're weird. Whatever it was. We went back and we processed the number of memories that she had where there'd been different things that were said to her. We shifted these subconscious beliefs of I can't make friends and no one likes me and no one includes me and I'm not accepted. And 2 days later, she messages and she said, every Friday, there's this group of people from work that go out for Friday drinks and they always invite me. And I just always assumed that they invited me because out of obligation. But they don't invite everybody in the office. They were actually inviting me because they actually wanted to be friends with me, but I could not fucking see it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't let it in because in my mind, they were only inviting me out of obligation because nobody likes me and nobody really wants to be friends with me. Once that shifted, she was like, oh, they invited me because they want to get to know me. And she said, I went and I had the best night and it was so fun. And we were talking about, they were asking me all these questions and like they actually cared about me. And she was like so surprised. I'm like, yeah, duh, because those things are always there available to you. It's like the things that you're trying to magnetize are just like right there. They're just right there. Like they are around you and they're already happening. It's like money. Everyone's like, oh, I need more money and money and money. And we put it like on this pedestal over there, but it's like all around us moving all the time. Like all possibilities are there in the field, but we can't see them and experience them because our perception is only focusing on this much. Like, oh, if we could just open people's minds, and I wish I could just like wipe people's subconscious clean, just like reprogram it from the top because so many beliefs that we have from childhood are just so detrimental to the version of ourselves that we want to become. Like if we're raised where we have to be small and quiet and polite and squash our needs and put everyone else's needs above our own, and then we go out into the big wide world, we think that we've escaped it. We've just escaped those people. We haven't escaped the programming and the conditioning, and we end up doing the same shit with different people in different countries or states or whatever. The patterns follow us because they're so deeply ingrained. You change those subconscious beliefs and you open your mind and your awareness to this whole new world. Like I said, there's a million bits of information coming at you every second. All of a sudden, what you're focusing on is something positive. So all of a sudden, what you're magnetizing is something positive. What you're feeling is a positive feeling, and you start to create more positive feelings, more positive thoughts, more positive subconscious beliefs to cement this new belief in place because you don't have this open gaping wound of trauma saying no one loves me because these girls were mean to me when I was 5. It sounds stupid. It sounds crazy that we would live the rest of our adult life as if that 5-year-old experience was still true, but that's exactly how we're programmed to live for safety, for survival. And unfortunately, our old brain has not caught up to the way that we're currently living in society. And so it's going to keep doing that. So we actually have to get out of our own way, get out of our own head, and we actually have to go above that subconscious mind into our consciousness and think which of these thoughts and beliefs and experiences are actually positive. And if these are my subconscious beliefs that I'm identifying, that's what I'm magnetizing. What do I want to magnetize instead? Here's your list of subconscious beliefs that you need to fuck off and get rid of. And here's the new ones that you need to bring in order to actually experience the thing that you're wanting to magnetize. So it's not about through sheer force magnetizing something towards you. Like it's not hard when you become the version of yourself. Like that wasn't hard for that woman to make a new friend. She made it hard by saying no and by believing that people didn't like her. As soon as she removed that belief, it happened with ease. And this is the thing that people don't realize. You're magnetizing everything with ease. It's just about what you're magnetizing. So take stock of those subconscious beliefs. And if you don't know how to do that, this is literally why I created Triggered to Thriving. It is the roadmap of my last 15 years of healing, of the stages that you need to go through, the prompts that will ask you, journal prompts to uncover what actually are my subconscious beliefs and where were they created and what were those moments that traumatized me? Because half of us don't even know. What were those foundational memories? Like where does this trigger come from? How do I find the root cause of it? How do I feel the emotions when they arise instead of just pushing them back down with a chocolate bar? Like, how do I feel them? How do we do that? We don't understand. We're not taught. So the program is regulate, how to uncover it, how to find what's underneath the trigger, how to find the beliefs, how to shift them, and not just so that you can get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm not having nightmares anymore and I'm not traumatized and I'm not just surviving the day. I feel okay now. No, we're not doing okay. We do like, okay is like stage 2, but then we're going to like, I want more. I want bigger. I want a safe, loving, passionate, wild, sexy relationship. And now I want more money in my career. Or I want, we go bigger and we look at every obstacle that comes up, because to get you to just okay is like quite easy. To get you up here is another stage. And that's why I created the program in 5 stages, because it's taking you from where I was, which was just, if you haven't heard my story, go back and listen to episode 1, but the lowest of low to the highest of high. Like I want to take women not just to okay and regulated, but to like all the way alive. So that is what Triggered Thriving is all about. If you haven't already jumped on the bandwagon, please do so. It is at this point in time the most powerful way to actually have that roadmap. It's highly recommended that you do that alongside one-on-one work, because you're going to uncover the source of your trigger and your subconscious beliefs, and then you're going to be like, oh, this is really intense. Those one-on-one sessions are designed to use the Aruka method to help you to instantly shift the subconscious beliefs. And anybody who tells you that you can shift a subconscious belief yourself and that you can shift it, instantly using their 3-step method is actually fully fucking with you, because it's actually really difficult to shift a subconscious belief yourself, because you actually have to, if you want to do it properly, find where it came from. And a lot of the time we're blocked from doing that. We need someone to guide us, in the same way that if you had a rotten tooth, you're not going to go and pull it out yourself. You're probably going to go to the dentist. You actually need someone to guide you through this process of actually properly processing your memories, shifting your subconscious beliefs, and purging those emotions. There's a lot of education in Triggered to Thriving of how to do some of those lighter things, but the actual processing of memories and subconscious beliefs needs to be done with somebody who knows how to do that. So that is me for this episode. I hope you've liked today's episode around becoming magnetic. I feel like so many of my episodes are always coming back to the same thing, but this is where it really does all come back down to. So if you're ready to do the deep work, Triggered to Thriving. If not, I'll see you in the next episode.